I hate the name being teams because it makes in conversation it makes a horrible like just phonetics. Anyway, I would like to hear a presentation by the original team that thought up and proposed and designed teams from a user interface standpoint and a functional style. I would like to hear their explanation of why it is the way it is,
I would agree. That would be fascinating.
because I'm sure somebody has a good reason, or they thought they had a good reason, but I tend to agree with you that there should have been a little bit more thought put into
Modified. 23, 21, 23. Show notes, December 14th, 2023.
you can't always rely on the modified date of a root folder.
That's so
just
bad.
Just because you modify a file somewhere in the subfolder of a root folder doesn't mean that it's going to go all the way up the chain to the modified of the root folder. I know it doesn't make that much sense, but
I don't have that issue like with local file explorer. So
That's because local
Oh,
file
that's-
explorer
it's not
is
local file explorer.
I
It's
realized as I was saying this what I was saying, but still, I mean, that's not a hard check to make, and it's not resource intensive or anything.
Oh, can we? Are you recording?
Yes.
Yes.
Oh,
Yes.
can I bring up? Wow,
That was an echo.
why are you echoing?
There we go. Because this has the active monitoring.
Okay,
on in
so
here.
what are you doing with this? What's the plan for? Are you just going to record your channel in
Yes.
this just for giggles?
Yes.
But you are recording your channel in the main recording.
It's already
Is
being
episode
recorded.
5
in the main
actually
recording,
blank?
Yes.
Okay.
and it's going to be recorded here. This is our long test.
opened
This
it
is
up and I
test
just
number
Get
1
blinded.
Okay.
I'm
to
like,
make sure that this is going to work the way I think
Yeah.
it's going to work. Because this is this is low impact.
Yeah. No, I'm just making sure you're not going to be throwing me 15 files and say, "Here, figure it out."
No, you're going to have this
20.
recording, and then you're going to have this guy up
Uh-huh.
here. And so you're going to be able to work. This is the one you're going to produce off the road. The one that's coming out of Fairlight, this is the one that I want you to listen to
Mhm.
and test with and see how the microphone sounds compared to the previous recording that was just out of the Scarlett
Mhm.
and directly into here versus 18920 directly into here,
I
because
got it.
then I'll be able to port, when I get this hooked up, the Rodecaster. Ooh, actually, no, I can't do that. Because then what I plan to do is have all of our mics hooked up into here, do a stereo recording on the Rodecaster, but do a full episode off of Fairlight as well as another test episode to see how that works.
I got you.
All right, let me hit record here. So we're recording on the road. We are recording in Fairlight. Are we recording in Fairlight? I'm not seeing the waveforms showing up.
I mean, it has the red recorder
I'm
thing.
having a big issue with my local Teams app.
I
too.
know.
I'm just going to use the
All right, hold on. Let me stop this real quick.
online.
No, the software's having an issue.
If anyone's never heard me say it before, Microsoft Teams is trash.
I'm not going to dispute that.
Yay.
See, this is
There's the
this
fader.
is an excellent example why you never test anything
Exactly.
in production without at least having some sort of production layer that we know works.
Which is why this is here. So, all right, let's go ahead and I'll figure this out later. I'll just leave it doing what it's doing. Let me open up the actual show notes and we can get going. The hilarious thing, this worked all on Friday. Now it's like, no, screw you guys. I'm good.
Why do I feel like I've heard that before?
Because this happens more than I like to admit. Alright, show notes. There we are. We need to clean that folder up a bunch.
Okay, I was trying to do that earlier and it's broken.
Oh, lovely. Of course it's broken. So yes, this is supposed to be blank.
Yes.
Okay.
I don't like that yours is dark and mine's not.
What? Wait, you don't like mine's in dark mode?
No,
do you want to be blinded?
No,
I can take it out of dark mode.
I don't like that yours is and mine isn't.
Well, fix yours.
Yes, I was just looking
The
at.
app won't.
Get a real computer.
That's what you get for using a tablet.
Hey, everyone, mute your phones.
My phone is muted. I even put it on Do Not Disturb.
Can I do this? Haha.
You want an A10 Mini, non-pro?
Oh, that's tempting.
I know.
We're a ways off from video, though.
I know.
We're like a ways off from video.
My headphones ship though, so I'll
But
have those coming in soon.
Nathan,
We're still trying to get the audio thing figured out.
we're still trying
We-
to get people to listen to.
Hey. We have people.
got a few.
We're people. We're listening to it.
We got we have four, what was it? I think we have 4 views already on episode 3 on
Nice.
YouTube.
That is good. I
And
haven't.
we
I
have
haven't
we have a
even listened
like.
to that.
We have a like on episode 3 on YouTube.
Nice. I haven't listened
And
to
then
it
we
on
have-
YouTube. I listened to it on
Yeah. Well, we
Stack.
have
Overflow.
I think
not Overflow.
Substack.
Substack. Thank you.
I think we have 7. I think we have 7 so far, something like that.
Hey, that's double digits.
I was the like on episode 3. And at least one of
Okay.
the views.
I was none of them. I have not looked at it, listened to it, whatever. I checked Apple Podcasts.
I'm
that was
trying
it.
not to be obsessive about that part of it. I mean, I'm a little like just that type of stuff I can get obsessive over, and I know it's not that big a deal at this point. But maybe for the sake of having actual accurate analytics, we don't listen to our podcast, and like with our own account, and we especially don't like our podcast because of course we like it. And if we only ever get 1 like on that video, we didn't get a like from an audience. We got a like from you. And I'm not saying that your like doesn't entirely matter, but
I'm doing my part.
for the sake of genuine analytics, your like doesn't count.
Thank you.
Wait, nobody complained about it. Why aren't we doing the intro? Somebody's supposed to complain about the intro first.
No, someone should just hit it when it's time to hit it.
How do we know when it's time to hit it? If no one complains.
You should know before people complain.
Feels weird.
We haven't been doing this long enough for it to not feel weird.
Skip is a funny word.
Why does that end so suddenly?
Because the reason, Steven, is you always want to have them yearning for more. If they are expecting it to end when you think it should
At
end,
whatever point we actually have an audience that listens to these things, audience, sound off in the comments. And is John correct in this?
No,
that you should have some...
I'm completely inaccurate on this, Steven. I'm trying to justify what we currently have.
Okay.
Yes, Ian, this is hand movement. It's hand gestures. It's called emphasizing your speech.
No, he's going with the chef talk. Molto bene.
Because it was hilarious the way Steven's just like, why does it suddenly just end? Because, Steven, this is Welcome to Hostility in the Morning podcast. I'm your host, John, joined here today by...
Matthew.
Nathan.
Ian.
Steven.
Steven forgot his name.
Steven's just been thrown off. We changed one thing. One thing.
Oh,
and
we
Steven's
changed more
like,
than
"Name-
one
name
thing."
it."
One thing we haven't changed.
The Mac is still here. The TV's still here. The table and all the mics and everything are still here. Listen, we changed seats last week, and then
Last week didn't count because we didn't actually record anything.
that is fair, but we still changed seats. And then we changed one piece of equipment.
Just the one.
Only one, yeah.
It's
Just-
about to be 2.
We've only deployed one.
It's the seats.
Yeah, I was
thing.
going to say, I see more than one new piece of equipment.
Is that one plugged in?
I don't know. You tell
It's-
me.
Do you see meter lights on it?
It's actually genuinely kind of weird.
Anything. It can still be plugged in and just turned off.
Yeah. Did you get it off of eBay?
Yes.
Yeah. So it could just all the LEDs could have died on it.
He's not wrong. He is not wrong.
I wouldn't have
You bought it
it.
used.
I would not have bought it if the LEDs. The only thing wrong. Okay, for the audience, we have bought 2 new additional pieces of hardware, both by Focusrite. One is an 18i20 to replace a Scarlett Solo that good audio interface, bad for our setup, and a Octapre Dynamic for our mic preamps, which has not been deployed yet because we're waiting on a few replacement parts that I need for it. Anyway, Steven.
I love how he says we like we contributed. You bought 2 new pieces of equipment.
I like shiny equipment. What?
It is
Is there a
shiny and
crime?
it is
Shiny
pretty.
red equipment.
It is pretty.
It is.
don't
It
get
is
me
very
wrong.
pretty. What more do you want from me?
I expect nothing.
And yet you're
I
still
have very
somehow
little
disappointed.
expectation.
It needs
that's,
to be
that's, I
bathed in
think
the blood of your
that's the source
enemies.
of my disappointment. Is I have such little expectation that when things happen, I'm just like, what? Why? What? Huh? My only expectation is things that stay the same, and y'all keep changing stuff. It's weird because now I don't have my normal audio experience where I hear your voice in my headphones, and then the overlap of you yelling where I can hear it through the headphones.
That's right.
Now it's just the voice in the headphones that's throwing me off.
and I have to yell across to you. You're welcome, because now I get to speak into the microphone as you have requested. So, again, this is all for your benefit, Stephen.
Is it?
Yes, I
Is
get to
it?
I get to yell at you and not make you deaf. That makes Nathan deaf. Sorry. Good luck.
But you were already actually you're farther away now than you were,
That's true.
and you're in the
And
you're
your
coming
voice
from
is directed in a different direction, whereas
Yes.
before your voice was directed like
in a different direction. Which direction should my directed voice go into?
Into the
A
corner
microphone.
behind you.
the other general direction.
Speaking of directions, Nathan,
yes.
what are we discussing today?
We are discussing something that I experienced over the weekend. So on Friday, February 9th, 2024, an email was sent out to all Skiff users, and I'll explain what that is in a minute, that Notion bought them. So Skiff is a privacy-focused email collaboration, cloud application, Google competitor thing. A more popular platform right now is Proton. Well, Skiff said, we've been bought out by Notion. And then this massive firestorm started. And it was really kind of entertaining watching everyone online in the productivity sphere, some of the project management sphere, this definitely the whole security, data, independent, Google, Microsoft are bad, Apple's bad because of data stuff. All of those worlds were just up in arms. It was very entertaining.
They killed off or bought out an open source project. That happens.
Yes. That was bought by, for those who don't know, Notion is a very, very popular productivity tool, collaboration, knowledge-based management. If you go on YouTube and just search for Notion layouts or Notion templates or how to use Notion, a bajillion videos are going to pop up, and some very, very good. I personally used it for a while. Skiff, I was using just kind of to test it out, a different platform in case some of the other platforms I use ever had an issue, kind of a fallback. Very well built, very well engineered. They were competing with Google, and I think they actually did a pretty good job of it. Well, this all drops late on a Friday when you always drop information you don't want people to notice. And they said you have 6 months to get everything out of there, and your Skiff accounts are not going to be converted to Notion accounts. So they're literally just completely killing the platform.
Oh, it's like Broadcom and ESXi.
Sure.
Well, they're not. No,
Oh,
they're
no.
not killing it, but they're making big changes that are not necessarily great. But they're not killing
No,
it.
they're killing out the user base. It's great.
So this has existed for. I've seen conflicting reports. I haven't had time to really dig into which one is accurate. I'm 99% sure that it launched in 2022, but it's existed in like development since either 2019 or 2000, or not or 2019 or 2020.
I was gonna say that's a big difference right there, Bo.
Yeah, that's a big difference, but that's still a pretty young project.
Very. And what was amazing was how clean it was and how Proton is also a very privacy-focused email service, and they're also branching into online file storage, calendar, password management, that kind of thing. It's been around longer, and I think their UI is not as good as Skiff's UI was.
Okay, so clarify for me, because I will give a slight disclaimer at the beginning of all of this. I'm going to be the confused one stumbling around in the dark with this because I don't. None of this makes any sense to me. I have no notion of what any of this is or why the hell people use it. So just that's my disclaimer.
Let me ask this first.
Just, hold on. Let me ask my thing first. Hush.
Shut your pie hole.
But so the way you're describing this, it sounds like you're describing that Skiff was a platform. Was a platform that does the same thing as Notion. So is there a particular function of Skiff that's different or wasn't available in Notion that they're absorbing them for? Or are they just generally overlapping some of their features on top of, I mean, what does Skiff do that Notion wanted to acquire them?
So they're actually wildly different.
What are they?
So
you've described them as productivity tools. I don't know what that means.
So Skiff has 4 applications on it. Email.
Okay.
So just email. Their thing is if you're emailing either Skiff to Skiff, or you can even set it to where if you're like doing Skiff to Proton, etc., it's encrypted.
Okay.
Into an encrypted email.
Just by default, you don't have to
exactly.
intentionally do. Okay.
If you email a Gmail account, it's not encrypted.
Okay.
But it's default if you're doing it within the security world.
Okay.
So you have that. You have email. You had calendar.
Okay.
Self-explanatory. You have file storage. Self-explanatory. And then you have, I think it was Docs, and it was think Word with some Excel features.
Okay. So they basically tried to do a one and done. Instead of having Word, Excel, PowerPoint, they try to meld it together and have one app that's
Correct.
Word generation. Okay. All
Correct.
Right.
It's one of those, if you're comparing it to like TextEdit or Notepad or something like that, it's wildly powerful.
Mm-hmm.
For comparing it to actual Word or Excel, it's not comparable.
Okay. But for most people, generally, it's fine. So,
Sounds
so then,
more like it was to the strength level of Google Sheets and stuff like that.
Yes.
so then did Notion have any of these features before, or is this something they're adding?
What Notion has is file storage
Okay.
and document. That was it. They did not now also, I take that back. They just, like within the last couple of weeks, launched a calendar.
Okay. So this is Notion expanding its functionality by adding the Skiff, the Skiff platform to it and making it all Notion.
That's the theory. Notion's actually not saying why this move was made. The current theory is it's for the email.
And that would make sense with the way. Okay. Thank you for your explanation. Now I understand this a little bit better.
So now the real question is, Stephen, what do you currently use day to day for productivity?
I don't. What do you? I use whatever in the world we use for work. I mean, I just use the tools that we use for work.
How about in personal? What do you use?
I have a phone that has my personal email on it, and it has calendars and stuff that I never use, and I remember things, well, mostly.
See, it's that mostly. You should be using some type of assistant there.
Why?
It is to
Do
better.
I function normally in my day-to-day life? Yes.
Do
Is
you?
my life is my well?
Do you? I heard you. I've heard you over the past few
A productivity
days.
tool is not going to help. It's not going to help me do my laundry. It's not going to help me. No, it's not.
Because it can help organize the disorganized life that you have.
No.
You can set proper scheduling, and you can actually set reminders.
I'm
for
just
when
going to
you're supposed
ignore
be
the
specific
reminder.
text. If we would just invent a smartwatch that tases you every time your reminder shows up, you actually might get more stuff done. And be
I
more
have
productive.
a garage
called
full
an
of
electric
cuddy
dog
pointy
collar.
things. Even if it's locked to my arm, it will come off. it or the arm. Now, I am not and I am not the person any of this is designed or intended for. I've never been one to use. I sucked at note taking in school. Like I've never been drawn to or this stuff's not for me. I'm not the intended audience. So I just wanted to get a little better clarification so that as you continue, I understand a little bit.
Well, I understand you're not the intended audience, but do you feel there would be any benefit to adopting at least a small section of this into your day-to-day life to
No.
help? Why not?
Because I wouldn't use. I've tried to use. I tried to use OneNote at some point in the past.
OneNote is garbage.
This was, I said, some point in the past when none of this existed. There was not productivity stuff. It
It's
was
not
like when that
garbage.
was the only option. You had.
Productivity stuff in quotation marks, it's always existed. The form has just evolved.
There was
over
not
time.
nearly as many options as there are now 20 years ago.
So I just learned about Notion like a month and a half ago. Me and some friends of mine from college are working on making a little offshoot of D&D. Or not technically, we're doing like Pathfinder based on a book we've all read. But one of our guys was like, I heard about this thing called Notion and I mess around with it a bit. I wonder if we can use this. And I had never heard of it before that. And he went on there, started getting stuff set up. You throw a few of the free templates that are floating around on it. And for anything that you need to be able to view edits live with multiple other people, it is absolutely amazing. Everything is real time. Any edits that are made, you can watch them make from your computer, and basically any kind of collaborative knowledge base or
Database for non-database people.
yeah, it's actually really, really cool. And I mean, in my line of work, we could use it for a knowledge base, but that's about it. We definitely wouldn't use it for a database. It's just too insecure.
Well, from a person who actually knows how to use databases, that would make sense.
Yeah, and then it is
What are you talking about? Excel's a database. That's all you need.
it is one
The
step
database.
from databases. It's a step below Google Sheets, and then 2 steps below Excel.
So actually,
Where's Access in all of this?
If you find somebody that is still using
Yes,
Access,
I talked to
We
them
talked to one
earlier
today.
this
We have a
morning.
client.
Yes.
just kick them in the butt.
Tell us how you really
watch
feel
them
about
roll down the hill into a vat of gasoline that you then throw the little match into and watch it burn nicely.
So a custom JavaScripted database would be better than Access.
he's thinking. He's still
Insert
thinking.
Jeopardy theme here. I think so, yeah.
So I want to actually hold on to what you said about it not being as secure. That is actually why there's so much fury over Skiff selling out. Because in several sectors, it's not that Notion bought Skiff, it's that Skiff sold out. And because one of the big draw is, and one of their big marketing pushes was the security side of things, full encryption. Skiff is the one thing for Steven, like where someone like you, it might be somewhat interesting is Skiff is designed. One of the big selling points was Skiff is the product, unlike with Google where you're the product. That was one of the big draws there.
Yeah,
Interesting.
and I get and I get stuff like for instance, I'd never up until what was it last couple of years ago, I guess, I'd never heard of Signal.
Yeah.
I didn't know what Signal was, or just that it was a thing. I had used a myriad of messaging apps. I've used everything from AOL Instant Messenger,
The best one.
Skype, yes, absolutely. Skype, WhatsApp, shoot, what's the Hangouts? Teams.
Hangouts was great before
Hangouts
Google
was-
killed it.
Yeah, Hangouts was good. And then now the messengers inside of social media, and Instagram, stuff like that. But and then once I learned about Signal from you guys actually, and then kind of what its goal was and all that, I'm like, oh, okay, yeah, I can get on board with this. But that's a very narrow scope. That's an instant messaging app. That's like specifically what it does. So that's a little bit.
There's an entire ecosystem building up right now for all the different communities online. There's a growing community of very data privacy focused, and so like Signal for them is the messenger of choice. Skiff was trying to, for that group, Skiff was trying to be the email.
It was
of choice.
trying to be their email.
Yeah.
What? Okay.
Well, instead of building an entire
definition time.
Yeah.
What, Jonathan? What? So, obviously, you were going to hear about this all the time, so just get used to it. Microsoft 365. Like, what do you call that in the business world? That suite of things. The core stuff. Your email, your document generation and storage.
collaboration platform.
Platform.
That's what you would call it.
It's a business
Okay.
collaboration platform.
So this is a not necessarily business, but a collaboration platform.
It's
that's
a
centered around
privacy-focused
privacy.
one.
Okay,
Yes.
gotcha.
Which, so a lot of these projects I've seen spin up over the years, these are the ones that are more narrow focused in their goal of, instead of building an entire platform that is for security minded people, by security minded people, that it's end-to-end encryption on email, end-to-end encryption on IM messaging, end-to-end encryption on file sharing and file storage and all of this. They built a solid base, which was, okay, let's have our emailing system, and then when you're emailing inside of our own servers, it's all encrypted. Cool, great. Calendars baked already into that. Cool, great, no problem there. Then you can expand upon from that point, because as soon as you have a built-in end-to-end or peer-to-peer encryption-based platform, it's not that hard to then build another branch of it and then take that same security practice and build that right back on top. Whereas a lot of these companies, like on the Microsoft side, as you brought it up, can Microsoft do end-to-end encryption between a 365 tenant to another 365 tenant? 100% they can if they want to put the resources into doing that. They don't want to do that because it all goes through their Graph API, which is what they're using for the Copilot generation, Microsoft's own internal logging that they do, and that is the analytics that they utilize on how the platform is performing and how they're going to continue to grow the platform. Because, again, every single feature that you touch inside of 365, they know. They have all the analytics to show, and they know, and that's how they continue to build and push and grow the platform to where it is today. So similar on the security side was with Skiff and Proton and
yep.
a few others that I have seen over the years. Signal is one of the more unique ones where from the get-go, it was, we want to do texting. We don't want to use the same open protocols for texting that we've done, so they built their own, and then they built their own end-to-end encryption on it. But they don't store any decrypt keys or anything on their servers. The decrypt keys are on the peer. So as far as Signal knows, the only thing that you're doing is using their service or their own hosted servers as just a routing function. That is all.
That's why I like the services like Bitwarden, because it does the same thing for, even if you use, because I know we talked about initially doing the whole, I think you actually did it, the self-hosted Bitwarden vault.
I run it every day, yep.
And I tried. I did, gave it the good college try, but I used their actual cloud service, their hosted service, but it is still the same way where it's end-to-end encrypted as far as the password transfer, but they don't house the keys. It's the same thing where the peer is actually the one who has the decryption keys.
And so with Notion, they're highly, highly popular in the content creation world. That's actually why, like YouTube and online, there's tons of resources, because there's a ton of YouTube channels. That's how they run their channel. It's also highly popular in the college world. So
yeah, I could definitely see that.
Yeah. So like there's tons of tutorials on there how to do like study notes in it. There's some of the tech creators that I follow where they actually have full tutorials on how to build out Notion for a search study. So you have Notion, which it's private in the sense of you can't just go look at it, but they make no promises that they're not selling their stuff to ChatGPT or something like that. And then you have them taking over Skiff, so that you have all that fury. One of the things that I was kind of curious on, because several of us have been at this for a while. Several of us, one of us, are maybe a little bit new. And I think this raises a point that has to be considered. I think it has to be considered. I'm curious to know what everyone else thinks. In choosing a like, I'm very thankful I did not pick Skiff as my primary platform. I was treating it as a secondary. I work a lot out of, I have like all of them, but for this type of thing, I actually use Proton more. When you're choosing a platform, what kind of considerations should be made for longevity? I'm just throwing that out there just to see who.
I think we had a similar conversation about this a while back, and I will echo my opinion that I put forth then, which is, so if you're going to pick a platform like this, on the front end, when you're looking at them, when you're reading through and learning what the hell their process works, how everything is mostly stored. Look at the storage medium. Go in and look at the migration settings. Like, that should be one of the first things you're looking at, and see what it looks like to have the export, migration, anything like that, any information they provide on that. And make sure you find a platform that has standardized a standardized file type for migration or export. Because I think we're having a conversation about Evernote. Is what I'm thinking back to, and when they were sunset, come to find they used it's a custom file type for a custom database.
Proprietary.
Yeah, proprietary. Thank you. Kind of like a QBW database for QuickBooks. And so you can export it and have it, but you can only use it in their software because it's proprietary. Same goes for this. If you're that concerned about the integrity of this data, if we're not talking about college notes, if we're not talking about just day-to-day normal, junk email or just kind of frivolous data, if you're talking about something that is truly important to you, something where if this event happens, if your platform of choice gets acquired or is getting bought out and then dissolved or axed, you would go into a panic and go into an immediate anxiety attack because, oh my God, this data is so important, I can't lose it. If it's if you know that would happen, if this data was compromised, then you need to be concerned immediately about whatever platforms you're considering. What does an export look like? What does a migration to any possible future platform look like? Because that's the priority. It can have all the bells and whistles. It can have all the encryption. It can be, the greatest, have all the best intentions. But if you're really that concerned about that data, then you need to be absolutely sure that you can, at any point, retrieve it, and you can retrieve it in a format that is accessible somewhere else.
I get what you're saying and agree with a lot of it, but I don't think it matters in the long term. If find something you like, do some searching around, make sure you if you do need to get something out of it, it does have the right files, but ultimately make sure it just works for you. Because I've got an example here, not anything like Notion or Skiff, but I started doing some personal trading with TD Ameritrade a couple years ago, and they just got bought out by Charles Schwab. TD Ameritrade, I've got it pulled up here, was founded in 1971. It doesn't matter how old you are or how old the company is, how young the company is. Anything can happen tomorrow. So why not just use what works for you until it doesn't for one reason or the other?
And I agree with you on that. My only caveat to that is, again, in that example, that's financial data. That is not. Those are proprietary formats anyway. Anyone can very easily transfer file data or financial data, when a company gets bought out from one to the other. That is stagnant, standalone data that's specific to finances with something
with
like
laws and regulations.
Yeah,
around
with something
it.
like this, the integrity of that data has to be maintained.
Right.
With this, we're talking about general files, just your general data, something you created, your productivity data, your to-dos, or I'm thinking about okay, here's an example. This would be dumb, I'm sorry, not to keep a hard copy record of anyway, but just for the sake of argument. Grandma died and she left her grandma's
Rest in
recipes.
peace, Grandma.
Grandma left her recipes to you. You're a youngster that is, in the digital age, and so you digitize grandma's recipes
For sweet potato
and
pie.
grandma's recipes
Red.
in Skiff, in their their storage medium, right? Let's say that in this merger, this is a hypothetical situation, not real.
This is actually happening. You do what you want.
In this situation, Notion acquires Skiff and dissolves it. They just wanted, they do the whole tech thing and they just wanted like the encryption. They didn't want the platform.
They didn't even want the encryption. They just wanted it out of their way.
That's
or
a
that.
possibility.
That's very much a
That is-
possibility.
yeah.
But anyway, it's a proprietary thing. Grandma's recipes are in there, and you can export them. You can export that to a file, but it is some nonsensical proprietary file that's not going to work in any. You can't just load it back into Word or into Notepad or into whatever. Like, there's nothing you could. It's going to be useless data at that point. That's what I'm talking about.
Right.
If you have things like that, that's where my concerns and what I was talking about, a concern you should have, if it's data like that, just, if you have that type of concern or that scenario could possibly happen, I mean, I'm just old school. There's certain things, sure, you can go on the newest, greatest platform all day long. I'm all for hard copies. There's
Well,
certain things that, yes, you should absolutely print it out, put it in a safe, put it in a file box or
well, I mean,
something, and keep it that way.
You still have to follow, no matter what you do, what platform you go with, you still have to follow a 3-2-1 model of 3 copies, 2 locations, one of those have to be offsite. Like that has to, it doesn't matter.
You
Yes.
should never.
It doesn't matter what you do. I mean, even again, the hard copy
For something that important, yes.
works. If this is like business crucial, or you personally, if you lose this information, it's like your tax documents that you chose to put inside of like a platform such as Skiff. Why you would do that? Your choice.
Yeah. Well, and okay, if you're going to use
Yeah.
Skiff, for like at least my understanding of one of its purposes, let's say you had a side hustle, you had a small little business that you had with a couple of friends, and you built out business documentation in there. And then again, something like this happens. Let's say that it's not as this is pretty standard and clean, and I mean they're giving you, there's a 6-month sunset period. You got plenty of time to get things in order and figure out what you need to do. But let's say they didn't give you that, and you had y'all have gone all official, and you've made a handbook, and you've got you've got documentation, you got all this stuff that you spent a lot of time on to develop and is imperative to the function of whatever this thing is y'all are doing. And then, it's either just the carpet's yanked out from under you, or even if you got it out, even if you exported it, nothing to import it into. It's, some proprietary thing. That's all I'm saying as far as to answer your question, what people should be looking for and concerned about when they're searching for these platforms. in my opinion, that's a important aspect of it. If you're hyper concerned about the integrity of the data you're putting in, obviously not all data is going to be that important. Even some of our stuff that we do, show notes. If we lose show notes, like it's
Oh my
not
God.
that big a deal.
No, we're gonna have to shut it down.
Just shut her down.
The big
Hang
thing
it up.
is, and like you'll learn this all throughout businesses, you should always have an exit strategy. No matter what it is. If this is anything business crucial, at a drop of a hat, like even if Skiff being bought out, even if it didn't get bought out and you decided we don't want to use it anymore, or they made a policy change that you don't agree with, you should be able to pull your information and go somewhere else at any moment's notice. You should always have at least a basic outlined idea of what does that look like. Because as we know with companies over time, they can change, and they can change on a dime to the point where you no longer want to be on there.
And my point was simply to say, don't consider end of life as a necessary precaution. Like, have that exit strategy, yes. Consider security, yes. But don't go into selecting a platform purely with the thought, or even like your one of your top 5 needs being, I need this for the long term, because it could change tomorrow.
That's a fair point. Yeah, we've seen a lot of things that could have had or should have in people's minds had a lot of longevity that absolutely didn't.
Right.
I mean, just look at almost anything Google has developed.
Or bought.
That's completely fair. It's mostly do your risk assessment,
Mm-hmm.
and but in all honesty, as long as the platform works for you and you are okay with whatever that exit strategy in your head looks like, you can use it.
Mm-hmm.
I got a platform that everybody needs to use. This is just forget all
MySpace?
these tools. No, better than that. Forget all these tools.
What's
Forget all
better
this
than
stuff.
MySpace?
Trapper Keeper. That's that everybody needs to use.
Good
What?
Lord.
Trapper Keeper.
I've never heard of that.
Oh, I don't want to pull this up.
Okay, Lieutenant Dan.
I don't.
Please.
Steven, can you please, as I pull this up, can you please explain to the audience what Trapper Keeper is?
Trapper Keeper is a it's a really handy resource. It is
this
definitely
like some kind
word
of
generation,
Netflix movie rubber thing?
or document generation and storage, organization for sure. It's got a calendar in there somewhere usually.
Oh my gosh!
Those.
Oh my gosh! Yes, yes.
I was wondering how long it's gonna take you. There you go. That's all the organization you ever need.
Okay,
What's all this nonsense?
That's
Okay.
for the
You
analog
can store
solution.
envelopes in the little pouch on the outside with stamps, and that's your mail.
Ooh, like a vaporwave.
Like
for,
legit, they still make these
tropical.
things.
Yeah.
So
of
are
course.
you gonna
Hell
bring
yeah.
your
Oh,
Trapper Keeper
grandmothers.
next week to show and tell?
I think it's at my parents' house. I think they still have one of mine. Like legit, I think like whatever my last one that I used, they have there somewhere.
What design do you have on your Trapper Keeper?
I don't
Wait.
remember.
That is just a single month planner.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh!
Oh no, dude. God, I just dated myself hard.
You can
Like
get,
real hard.
you can stack up a library with those so fast.
Yeah.
'Cause those are.
Well, I mean, they're
Oh,
just
it's fun. They have inserts.
they're just 3-ring binders. That's all they are. Okay, let's just be honest
You
here.
just ruined the magic. No one knew they were 3-ring
It's just a
binders.
This
3-ring
thing-
binder. Okay,
This thing right there.
But you
That
can
is
see
middle
that,
school.
I had one
That
of those.
is middle school.
Somebody
Yes,
needs
I had
to
one of those.
Explain what that is.
for the
What
That
you're
is-
pointing at.
It's
is-
a 3-ring binder on steroids is what
Yeah.
it is. It's basically the 3-ring binder with a shell of nylon and a zipper that like seals it up, and then it has some kind of a document portfolio pouch
It's a 2
on the other side of it.
ring too.
Yeah.
It's a thick.
Oh,
boy.
yeah, she's
Don't
thick.
forget about all the pockets on it.
Like I
Yeah.
said, document storage. It can also be a creative design
That's
application. You can keep your colored pencils and your
something.
colored
That's
What
markers
does that
and
say? Radio Shack or Shock?
shock. Radio shock. Wow.
I don't know if we can even describe that.
No.
No.
I just saw it.
No.
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 It's
So,
a,
hey,
it's a,
that's
it's
That's
a
definitely-
one. No. I
That's
have a
definitely
perfect
straight out of the
explanation for
early
it.
2000s.
What they were looking at was a 100% organic tattoo.
Look up Trapper
Nathan.
Keeper at your own peril. I'm saying
Nathan,
right now.
off topic. Have you ever heard of Telegram?
Yes.
I just found out about this
Yes.
like this past week.
Yes.
When I was just browsing through apps, and it's like one of the most downloaded apps in the world.
Yeah, how'd you not know about Telegram?
I have never heard of this
So
before.
Telegram, Telegram rose to prominence when it was after Facebook bought WhatsApp, but then Facebook started changing the WhatsApp terms of service to match Facebook terms of service, and everyone freaked out.
Rightfully so.
For those of you who are listening, if you want to get into
What are you
the
talking
more,
about? Mr. Roboto has never, ever done anything wrong on the head of Facebook.
if you wanted to
Mr.
get
Roboto?
into a more security
He's not a real
conscious
person.
world,
He's
Oh,
a
yeah,
lizard,
he's a
not
lizard.
a robot.
Mark Zuckerberg is definitely a robot. The man keeps barbecue sauce on a back shelf,
He's
in
a
his
lizard.
office.
I keep barbecue sauce close to me. It
You
may
keep,
not be on
you
a.
keep Sweet Baby
your
Ray's in your
office?
office in a back floating shelf.
To be fair, at least it's Sweet Baby
it
Ray's.
was Sweet Baby Ray's. It was hilarious.
At least, he's got good taste. Well, valid taste. Anyway.
so
Nathan?
Telegram was basically, I don't know how it happened, but they were the one that jumped to prominence first, and then Signal was number 2.
Mhm.
Telegram had a larger user base, and it's still a messenger base, but you can kind of use it as a semi-social platform. Not well, but you kind of can.
I mean,
Do not use it if you want to be secure, because it does not encrypt by default. And
interesting.
the encryption is fairly, I don't think the actual protocols are weak, but the way it implements it is much, much, much weaker and just off by default.
That's fine. Look at
Cool.
this.
Okay, I've got-
When you're doing a freaking just large scale presentation, do you use Sweet Baby Ray's as a
That's an
book stop?
AI generated
I love
background.
this
Come
sketch.
on.
I love the sketch.
This is
That's
awesome. I
amazing.
love this.
For the audience, we've literally looked up Mark Zuckerberg, Sweet Baby Ray's, and that was literally Googled. So
This is
again,
a
Google
hand-drawn
at your own
picture of
risk.
Mark Zuckerberg that looks like he's sipping on Sweet Baby Ray's.
It looks like he's about to go into a chug. Like he's
You're
pre-chug.
right. He's
Got the wide-eyed concentration, like he's
the wind-up.
focusing
It's the
pre-chug.
wind-up.
Yeah.
So back to Telegram. I've got their description pulled up right now, and the two things jumped out at me. First, for their security, and then the size of groups that you can have. There, at least they claim to have. So nothing for security. Nothing is actually stored locally like it is on Signal. It's all stored on their cloud servers. But they do claim to have 256 bits symmetric AES encryption, 48-bit RSA encryption, and a Diffie-Hellman secure key exchange, which I don't know what that is. Maybe one of you do.
It's a type of one. It's one way of doing one part of encryption. There's several phases of encryption, and for a particular phase of encryption, Diffie-Hellman is one of the standards.
So they claim to have really good encryption, but as you said, it's just not implemented as well.
It's not now. And to be fair, maybe this has changed since the last time I looked at it, and it's been a little while, but at least not that long ago, it was off by default.
Interesting. And then from the PowerWise, this is something that Signal definitely doesn't have, no, actually no, it doesn't have, and the way it's implemented is not great. You can have up to 200,000 members in a group, and you can share large videos and documents of up to 2 gig each.
That's pretty
I kind of want to test
impressive.
that.
Yeah, because Signal starts hurting around the 100 meg mark, and then it takes absolutely forever upload and send.
And I should point out, if you are wanting a messaging platform that's not owned by Facebook and not owned by Google,
Pieces of paper tied to the foot of a carrier pigeon works phenomenal.
I know
Peregrine
the-
Falcon,
the-
make it faster.
The piece of
Not any
paper
faster.
formed into a paper football, and then you flick it to whoever you need it to
Or
go to.
if you want blood splatter, a gold eagle.
there's also the USPS.
No,
can't
we
trust
don't.
the
No, we don't
USPS?
trust
No.
the USPS.
How?
It literally took them 3 weeks to deliver diapers.
I can't trust the USPS
I say
deliver
fast.
something to me on the day they say they're going to deliver it to me. It's whatever day they say plus 1 or 2.
Or it could be early. It could be late. It could never show up. It could show up
Yeah.
3 weeks after they said it was canceled.
Who knows who knows the how it's going to show up and in what condition it's going to show up in, because heaven forbid one of these contracted mail delivery people that aren't even actual postal workers treat something with some kind of respect. Don't get me started.
So those last 2 things I was talking about with Telegram were the things that immediately jumped out at me that was different from Signal. The biggest thing that that made me interested in it was that that they claim to be 100% free and open, and they have a full these are in quotes, a fully documented and free API for developers, open source apps, and verifiable builds.
I have played around with the API before, and it is pretty robust.
Okay, I think that's really cool and something that we don't see
That's
often
fair.
enough.
That is fair.
So just a quick point to what I was talking about earlier. I just found the in the white paper for Skiff, they're basically offboarding or they're exporting documentation that they have. So specifically for their files, their pages and files, as well as their email, the format that and this is to a point that you've made before, Nathan, and I think Matthew, they all talked about. All of their pages download as markdown files. They come in a zip folder, but the files themselves come out in the .md file format. So, as it would appear, if you needed to get your data out of there, it comes in a format that is very easily moved to something else.
That's why plain text open source formats are the best.
And
Email, on the other hand, which this is not a huge detriment, it's more of a hassle. It's doable, but it's just kind of an annoyance, in my opinion. But when you export your mailbox, it is exported as an inbox file.
Good lord.
Yeah.
All right, load up Thunderbird. Here we go.
Now, it says if you prefer to download a selection of emails, you can bulk select and click the download, which will download a zip of EML files. I'm not familiar with EML files.
That's an individual email.
Okay, just okay, like yeah, like
Mhm.
you attach it. All right, cool. But anyway, yeah, so your mailbox. So obviously, Jonathan and I from the IT world, we're more familiar with the Exchange and
OST
and
and
OST and PST files and all that. That's obviously Microsoft specific. That's
That's
not
a
everybody.
proprietary format, sir.
It is, but it's the most widely used proprietary format. Anyway, inbox is
That's a
usable.
bold statement you just made there.
Am I wrong?
I don't know.
I don't think he's wrong.
It's a. I'm not saying it's the safest bet, but it's a pretty safe bet.
It's in the running.
I would definitely say it's up
Anyway,
there.
yeah, if you exported that inbox file, and you wanted to, well, heck, if you were wanting to just hypothetically move from this to Microsoft 365, you cannot import that, my understanding, directly to 365. May or may not.
He's
Anyway,
Googling.
Without
you would have
going
to
through
use some.
Thunderbird
You'd have
first.
to, yeah, exactly. You'd have to use some weird workaround with an open source email application like Thunderbird. It's totally doable. It's just a royal pain. So these are considered. This is what I was trying to get through as far as the consideration that I was talking about is, if you were just that concerned about something, if it was imperative, you needed a exit strategy, a way to get things out. This is the type of stuff that I would suggest researching and looking into for a given platform, what does it look like to move off that platform? Because some may be way easier than this, where it's like, oh man, that would be just really simple to move off of it. And some may be completely proprietary, and it's like, oh my God, that'd be a nightmare.
Cough, cough, Evernote.
So, and also to Evernote, so just to minor correction, Evernote does exist. I just sunset my own usage of it. And so it's
Right, I did. Yeah, sorry. I think I may have insinuated that it's not a thing anymore. It is a thing. They just did a thing that's worrisome.
Collaboration is one thing, but if we're talking about personal notes that it's just you accessing and maybe you're sending stuff to another person here and there, you'd be hard pressed to find a better solution than some kind of markup format, which would typically be Markdown for all of the normies
How
out
is
there.
Markdown a markup?
Markup is the kind of language. Markdown is a specific dialect.
Just put it in GitHub and share out your links.
I was gonna suggest that, but I wasn't gonna go down that rabbit hole. But
I'll go down that rabbit hole.
Markdown is great, and then SyncThing for syncing between your devices. You don't need a third party anything to have all of your files shared between your devices.
You need the little pocket-sized little spiral, the little notebook with the spirals on the top that you can flip, like the detectives did
Like a
with a pen.
No, see, that's still too insecure because if you leave it somewhere, they can read your notes. So you need an old Palm Pilot that you put a 4-pin key into, and that's secure.
actually, since a Palm Pilot will take AA's, always be able to find power.
Always is a strong statement.
AA's are a proprietary format.
Speaking of proprietary formats, we should probably end the show. I've been your host, John, joined here today by
Nathan.
Matthew.
Stephen.
Ian.
Steven. Call us out.
Thank you for listening to the Hostility in the Morning podcast. You can find us on our socials at Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. Call it Twitter, just /X. And you can also listen to us on all the podcasting platforms as well as on YouTube
And Substack.
and Substack.
Substack is the main one. You're forgetting the one big thing.
No matter if you want to find us, hostilityinthemorning.com. It has everything you need.
There we go.
Have a hostile morning.
There was not enough hostility.
Why are you moving this?